Hey guys, I want to welcome you here to Holy Week. This is our online celebration, remembering what Christ has done for us all through the week. LaDonna got us started off with just a great devotion about Palm Sunday. Yesterday, Pastor Robbie then talked to us about Jesus turning over some tables in the temple. Today, I want to talk to you about a passage that's found in John chapter 12. Came to love this passage the more I've looked at it. Just a couple of things about the background. First of all, Jesus had just raised Lazarus from the dead, created a huge surge of followers. Everybody's really excited. Well, everybody except for the religious rulers called the Pharisees in that day. They just saw their popularity beginning to diminish. Jesus is on the rise, and so they're doing everything they can now to diminish his ministry, and got to the point where they're ready to end his life. Now, the second thing that's going on in this passage, a large number of folks are beginning to assemble in Jerusalem. Why? Because it's time for the celebration of Passover. And this is a big deal in the Jewish culture. And so you got masses and masses of people coming in. Not everybody, though, is a Jew. And so in John chapter 12, verse 20, the scripture says this: "Now among those who went up to worship at the feast were some Greeks." When the scripture says that they were Greeks, it just simply means they were non-Jews. They were Gentiles, probably just like you and me, right? And so when they came to worship. And I think the heart of that is found in verse 21. They came up to a guy named Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and asked him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Now, what I love about that is that's the heart of worship. Right? Earlier, you can see that the Jewish leaders really were asking from Jesus a sign. But as these guys came and drew near to Jerusalem, they just wanted to see Jesus. You know, worship is a great indicator of our hearts. I think it begins to reveal to us, is there a real desire in my life, not just for what God can provide, but do I really want him? Do I want to be near to him? I pray that today, that as you and I begin to recognize the importance of this week, ultimately the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, that it is our heart to draw near to him, to see him. Well, the scripture goes on. Philip went and told Andrew, who was Simon Peter's brother. Andrew and Philip then went and told Jesus the request from these men to see him. Jesus then answered, "The hour has come." So in those words, this is very significant words, because back in John chapter 2, when the wedding in Canaan took place, Mary, Jesus' mother, had invited him to the wedding. Jesus said this: "My hour is not yet come." In John chapter 7, there were people that wanted to arrest Jesus. And yet the scripture says that couldn't happen right then. Why? Because his hour had not yet come. So what is the significance of this impending hour that Jesus says is now here? Well, I think we find out what it means when he introduces to us verse 24. "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." So when Jesus says that his hour had come, what was he talking about? He was talking about the ultimate reason that he came to this earth. Let's not forget that ultimately he came here to die. Why? Because it was in his death that you and I would experience life. And so what a great illustration when he says this seed has to die, fall into the ground, and then it yields life. The same is true of Jesus. He came so that he would die for the sins of man, and in so doing, you and I could experience life, the life that we were meant to live. So that's the truth in this passage that Jesus shares, but there's also an application. What now are we to do with this? Well, I think it's found in verses 25 and 26, because right after that, Jesus says, whoever loves his life loses it, and whoever hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. What is Jesus saying? He's talking about love for this world and all that it yields to us. And so you and I can make a choice to pursue the world, that is all of its pleasures, all of its possessions. But Jesus says that if we give our lives to that pursuit, in the end, it's all lost. We're not keeping any of that. And it's a life that is lost too in all of its meaning, and not only in its possessions, but in its purpose. And so he challenges find life by surrendering that pursuit in the world and come find your ultimate purpose in me. And if you'll do that, you're going to be so excited at the end of your journey. Listen to verse 26. If anyone serves me, he must follow me. And where I am, there my servant must be also. If anyone serves me, the Father will honor him. Now, what's it mean to follow Jesus? That's the real call in that passage. Also in Matthew chapter 16, he says this: if anyone wants to be my disciple, he must deny himself, pick up his cross, and follow me. So there's this challenge that I would let go of what the world has to offer, and I would cling to the one thing that Christ offers, and that's life. It's life. And I am of the belief, my faith is that at the end of a journey of following Jesus, we'll see the Father say, well done. You've followed my son. And in following him, he is honored, and he will honor that life that does so. Hey, thanks for joining us for these devotions. I hope that today was a blessing for you. Have a great Tuesday.